Welcome to the Bourbon Van. I'm Phil.
I'm Julie, and we love American Single Malts. When we say we, you really love them, and I'm starting to love them.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all the easiest to get into. They are, some of them, an acquired taste. American Single Malt, one of the newer categories in American whiskey, and also one of the more, in my opinion, interesting categories because terroir really plays into it. The grain itself really plays into it, and we've met a bunch of American Single Malt distillers, and we've really enjoyed hearing all the different stories of what goes into each one of these. And we have 5 favorites that we're going to share with you today, really 6 favorites because we couldn't agree on one of them. The interesting thing about these is that every single one of them comes from west of the Mississippi River because we haven't explored much east of the Mississippi River just yet. And so Julie's going to get us kicked off with her number 5.
Coming in at number 5 from our own backyard, Black Butte Whiskey, 125 proof. It's cask strength, the first time.
This whiskey is made from the wash of Deschutes Brewery's Black Butte Porter, and they've been making this for years. They've had 3-year aged, they've had 5-year aged, they've had it finished in various barrels, but this is the first time that they released it at cask strength, and my understanding is that they're not going to be doing that again, at least not as a regular release. So we feel very fortunate to have gotten this bottle. I like this bottle too. This isn't just a Julie joint. It didn't hit my top 5, but it came very, very close, probably 6 if I had to give it a number.
I love this one because it's so chocolatey, and if you're looking for an intro into single malts, this might be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just this cask strength that would be a good one. I think that their 5-year is fantastic. It's lower proof. It's really accessible. It's a great introduction, like Julie said. Right in our backyard, we love Deschutes Brewery. We love Crater Lake Spirits. And yeah, there's no denying this is a really good whiskey. Maybe it should have been in my top 5. Well, this is probably the bottle that we disagree on the most.
It probably is.
And coming in at number 5 for me, this is from Bull Run. We've talked about this bottle a few times lately. We got this on the Oregon Wine Country Whiskey Trail recently. This is the Oregon Single Malt Whiskey, aged 9 years from Bull Run Distilling. This one is 100.3 proof, and that 9 years of aging brings all kinds of layered complexity to it. But what I love the most about it is that it's not overwhelmingly sweet. It has a little bitterness to it. It's got chocolate in it, but it's bitter chocolate. It has coffee in it, but it's not super sweet coffee notes. There's so much to find in this bottle. The deeper we get into it, the more the oxygen mixes with it, the better it is, in my opinion. We made a banana new-fashioned cocktail with this.
That I did love.
They're not always super affordable. This one's around $100. That Black Butte whiskey was about $125, so maybe find them at a bar first, and that is a tricky thing about these American single malts because of where they all come from, how they're made, different flavors all over the place. So if you do have an opportunity to try these before you buy, it's not a bad idea.
From Bend, Oregon to Portland, Oregon to Denver, Colorado, it's Stranahans Single Barrel cask strength coming in at 112 proof.
Oh boy, this is where Julie and I start to really agree on things. This Stranahans whiskey is so good, and one thing that we have discovered about American single malts is that we tend to like them at higher proof. That's not always the case with every type of whiskey out there, and there are some lower proof ones that we like just fine. But the Stranahans Single Malt Single Barrels are really special at higher proof. We're finding all sorts of notes in them.
What I found interesting about this one is that I found peaches in this one, and I love a good peach.
Yeah, peaches and some white chocolate, and then some more citrus notes and different things on the nose, the palate, and the finish. This one really takes you on a ride. This is our 3rd or 4th Stranahans Single Barrel. They're not even available here in Oregon. At least we haven't seen them locally. Every time we see them when we're out in our travels, though, we scoop them up. This one, I believe, costs us $65. It's a heck of a value for a bottle that's this flavorful.
I love that price point. I love this bottle. If you see it on the shelf, you should pick it up.
Yeah, and it comes with a jigger on top.
Yes, it does. Next up is the whiskey in our glasses, and it's a little bit special.
You actually filled this one from the barrel.
I did.
This is a bottle of Iceland American Single Malt from Seattle, Washington, and this one in particular is really unique because it's part of their barrel exchange program with breweries around Washington state. This whiskey spent its first 5 years in a rye cask, followed by 3 years in a Saison cask.
I love Saisons.
Yeah, you do. From Black Raven Brewing in Washington. And listen to the tasting notes on this one because they are wild.
On the nose, sour cherry, toasted wheat, mint, pancake batter, yum, cola, on the palate key lime, which is your favorite, bread crust, brown sugar, and fudge. You cannot go wrong with those tasty notes.
Here's the wild thing. I feel like it's all in there. This is a very good glass of whiskey, and this is 116 proof. It really doesn't drink that hot, but we love the real subtle darker notes and a ton of brighter notes over the top. This is such a satisfying whiskey, and being able to fill it from the barrel at the distillery was a really special experience. They do that pretty frequently, so if you're in Seattle, particularly in the Soto district, go check out Westland, take a tour, pour your own bottle out of the barrel.
That was a really fun experience for about $100. Well, if it's not your favorite single malt in the bunch.
Yeah, for me, this is really number one, although our number one we both liked so much that it made number one, but this for me is one of the best bottles I've ever had. It's what really awakened my palate to new experiences, new flavors outside of just bourbon and rye. This is McCarthys Oregon Single Malt Single Barrel Whiskey. This one is at cask strength. We got 113 proof here, and I've been loving this bottle so much, and you can see there's a big surprise. It's almost gone again. I keep buying these. This is available for about $65 locally here. You can get them at Trailhead Liquor, and I cannot believe every time I go in there that they're still on the shelf. I don't understand it. Made by Clear Creek Distillery here in Hood River, Oregon. This is, I mean, how much more can I say about this bottle? Everybody knows how much I love it. This is the whiskey that introduced me to smoked flavors that I actually liked, to peat flavors that were beyond just tire fire and things like that. This actually brings a lot of chocolate and even coconut, and one of the more interesting tasting notes I've ever experienced on a whiskey, grapefruit rind. Maybe if you've only tasted grapefruit rind on Malort or something like that, it doesn't sound great to you, but I'm telling you, this is such an interesting bottle. And again, we really like the higher proof stuff from McCarthys. If you haven't tried McCarthys, or you haven't tried a peated American single malt, definitely have to give it a try, especially if you're a Scotch fan. There are some very, very interesting things happening in the world of American single malt whiskey where peat is concerned.
Well, we're keeping it in Hood River. There must be something about the water there in Hood River, Oregon.
This is, okay, a little bit different. Okay, so this is a Hood River, Oregon bottle. However, Wanderback has sourced their whiskeys for the past several years. I don't know if they are continuing to or what the future holds, but this is actually a Texas American Single Malt Whiskey aged in Hood River, Oregon. This is Wanderback, and that's Balcones whiskey in there. And I'm a big fan of Balcones. I love their American Single Malt profile. It's so fruity, so chocolatey. But there's something super unique about this bottle. We've been sharing it with tons of people that aren't fans of American Single Malt, aren't really whiskey fans at all. And the flavor hits everybody's palate.
I just think it's really accessible.
104 proof, just over $100. So again, not the highest value, or so it would seem, but it's such a unique whiskey. The nose is almost reminiscent of walking through a barrel house, while the palate is almost like a coffee house. There's a mocha chocolatey thing happening there with some coffee notes. And then on the finish, you just get that delicious cocoa powder that hangs around. So much to like about this Wanderback whiskey, especially this particular batch. I know some of their stuff was sourced from Westland, some of it's been sourced from Balcones, but the bottom line is that they pick great whiskeys to age and to bottle for themselves, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with this brand in the future. And again, everybody that tries it loves it, and look at that bottle. It's gorgeous, right?
I love a good bottle. So there you have it, our 5 favorite American single malts that we're enjoying right now.
Yeah, the key is right now, because it seems like every time we get introduced to a new distillery, that gets added up to the list.
We just want it.
We just want it. And the flavors are so big, so enormous on every single one of these bottles that we've discovered. There's so many American single malt distillers doing amazing things out there. We actually haven't been introduced to that many of them, but it seems like every time we are, we love something that they produce, and we're eager to share it with you out there. And in our travels, we plan on finding a lot more American single malt whiskey out there. So if there's something either west or east of the Mississippi River that you think we need to be introduced to, please let us know in the comments. What is your favorite American single malt whiskey? And from wherever we are
to wherever you are.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That key lime is no joke.
That is so good.